Hello again, everyone. We are here to listen to some fabulous panelists. I'll go ahead and have them introduce themselves. We have representation from, I won't say the year for our person who is at the most veteran of experiences, but we do also have representation from our most recent year, being 2021, doing camp online. So from the mountains to online, we have representation. So if folks could introduce themselves, and as they do that, feel free to also introduce yourself and share what year you went to camp again. But yeah, if our panelists, Chuck, Rocio, Roger, and M can share your name and pronouns and just let us know a little bit about you. So Chuck, would you like to start us off?
Yes, finally unmuted. All right, my name is Chuck Barnes. He, him, his are my pronouns. I went to Building Bridges Camp in 1988-89 school year, so just a couple years ago. Let's see, I went to camp to meet girls. And I did, but that was not the issue. That was not what kept me coming back to camp. Camp actually, it was actually a discussion about sexism at camp that that kind of blew me away at my very first camp, and it made me kind of look at my role in the world in terms of that-ism and other-isms. I went away to the Air Force for 6 years, and then I came back, and a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to get back involved with Building Bridges, because he had gone to camp with me, but he was also still involved as a volunteer at the time. And I was like, of course, yes, because he knew what impact it had on me. So I went back and, fell back in love with it, and was invited to go to Brotherhood Sisterhood camp in 99. And again, blown away, so it just kind of, they built on each other. What I had gotten from Building Bridges went to another level with Brotherhood Sisterhood camp. And, it just totally changed my worldview, and the way I look at myself and others. But yeah, so now I'm still involved, after all these years. I've taken breaks and come back. But the faces may change, but the spirit has always been the same. So and I love seeing some faces, familiar faces in these boxes, and I'd like to see y'all in person someday. So I think that's all of it.
Thank you so much, Chuck. And check him out later. He's going to actually be DJing for us in our after party, so stay tuned. Next, I'd love to invite Rocio to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. Party people. I'm Rocio. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Let's see. I first went to camp in December of 2013. I was a student at Jordan High School at the time. I was a sophomore. I am now graduate of CSULB. Very exciting. Time flies. But I mean, similar experience to Chuck, really. I think that when I was a sophomore and I went to camp for the very first time, there was a lot that I didn't know that camp really opened my eyes to. And honestly, it became my passion, and it kind of became what I knew that I wanted to do in life. Not sure what exact area, but it's just all, I love it all. So it's a little hard to choose. But definitely that's had a major impact in my life. The way I move through life now, talk to folks, all of that good stuff. So it's been amazing. Great journey.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rocio. Congratulations on your graduation. Woo! Gonna next throw it over to Roger. Where you at, Roger?
Hello, my name is Roger, he, him, his. I first attended camp in December of 2017. I was a freshman in high school, and I went to Santa Monica High School. it was the last year that I knew of that Santa Monica High School actually was able to get any buses up. So I was very lucky to be able to attend. And I had gotten into, I had been learning about social justice and gotten very, very into it largely through the internet in like a few years leading up to that. And had basically everyone in my life respond with about the same tone of like, dude, you're being a spaz. Like my own therapist told me I had to dial it back. And so going to camp was really great to have people be like, oh no, actually there is like science and data to this, and there is work that can be done, not just work that needs to be done. So it was very uplifting and empowering. And in any case, now I just graduated high school. I am actually about to start at UCLA in about a month and a half, so I'm very excited about that. I'm going to go study environmental science with a concentration in environmental engineering because I want to get into environmental justice work. And I'm thinking of minoring in queer studies and this like community work. It's essentially a social justice minor. Very excited about that. And currently, I also work at a martial arts school and I teach currently mostly youth, like kids and some teens. And that's been really fun.
Go Bruins!
Oh.
Go Bruins! Roger, connect with me in the chat. I'm a Bruin. Go Bruin!
I was waiting. I was like, there's got to be some alums in here, I'm sure. Thanks for that, Louis. Oh, and congratulations, Roger. So excited for your new journey. Congrats on graduating. And then our final panelist that I'd love to introduce is M. Where are you at, M?
Hi, I'm Em. She, her, he, him pronouns. And originally I joined the Building Bridges Club at my school, OSHA, where I was introduced to like everyone there, and then everyone was so open-minded and welcoming there. So then I got an invitation to apply for the CCEJ youth camp or whatever for 2021, which was completely virtual. I think the first fully virtual model, I think. Yeah. So I was a bit anxious at first considering how with school we had to go on Zoom for like hours every day, and then being on Zoom for another like 4 or 5 hours every week was kind of daunting to me, but that definitely changed once I actually joined CCEJ. The discussions we had were so invigorating, and so we got so in depth into so many social issues, which I found really interesting because there aren't that many communities where people are as open-minded to learning and changing as people. And yeah, so I joined as a high school sophomore. I'm currently a high school junior. I'm really interested in the arts and stuff. I recently made a film about like the Asian diasporic experience. I talked to a bunch of other Asian American diaspora, and then we just connected on so many different levels. So yeah, I'm really excited to meet you all.
Thank you so much, M. And yes, M is a phenomenal artist, so check out her work. Would love to hear a little bit more. I know everyone kind of spoke to impact of camp, but just want to dive in a little bit deeper with that question. So what was or continues to be the impact on camp? And in particular, are there any connections, right, to either people or concepts or just important connections that you made at camp that might resonate with you today? So Chuck, do you want to start us off again? And circle back around.
Yeah, Chuck Barnes, he, him, his. The connections I made, like a long time ago, somebody pointed out that, you know, the communication guidelines are not just for camp. They're not just for like these kinds of spaces. Like the fact that I could use those in my daily life, you know, that was kind of powerful to me, like to think like just what they could mean as far as like me interacting with everyone in the world, you know, having respect for folks, speaking for myself only, and not trying to assume that people that look like me think like me. It really went a long way. And also to be able to claim my own space, you know, and saying, hey, you don't speak for me, you know, just because we share identities. You don't necessarily speak for me. You might, we might agree, but we might not. So, you know, just that was huge for me. You know, because coming up, sometimes we believe the stereotypes about ourselves, and being able to disconnect from the stereotypes and claim my own space in the world without being told who I am. It really meant a lot to me. But also like learning to not be fragile about the work. And I mean that in a way that to be able to accept critique, that's coming from, you know, somebody else's hurt. You know, it really took me a long way, I think. You know, like I can hear somebody without feeling defensive. I can hear somebody's pain in their story and make it translate to my behavior. You know, I think that's important, because we could get all in the head and you know, rationalize and you know, have all these academic thoughts about what somebody means, but unless it translates into action or into me actually feeling something about it, then not much is probably going to change. And if I don't change, the world, in my feeling, the world doesn't change, because it takes a whole bunch of individuals making that kind of choice to act, and that's where movements come from, in my opinion.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for that, Chuck. Already calling us in on what we can do to create change, right? So thanks for making those connections. Rosie, would you like to share on this questions as well?
Ooh, following up Chuck.
You got it. You got it.
Well, I would say that I made a lot of different important connections at camp. I think what Chuck really brought up, I love that, is the communication guidelines. I mean, using that in personal relationships, honestly, is so amazing. We really dive in, you know, when we have these conversations in camp, and those are very important where we're having these conversations to be able to move forward in a positive and, you know, a safe place to do that, right? I think that's awesome, and I've brought it into my life. I've suggested it in many spaces. It's been really awesome to do that. But not only that, I think that as well, especially doing the work when I was in high school and still growing, and I still am growing every day. I think that it's also taught me how to talk to folks and have these kind of conversations that are hard and are difficult, but still being able to do that in a way that's compassionate, and being able to reflect and talk to each other, and just really try to understand each other and where we're coming from. That's really important in this work, and, you know, just in every day. And it's been amazing to be able to do that and be able to grow and learn how to do all of these things, and look up to young folks as well. They're amazing. You know, I was there for Roger for his camp and seeing him grow as a leader, which is amazing to watch. I love looking up to these young folks, everybody, older folks, all of that. And it's amazing. I love the work.
What a perfect transition to Roger. Such a facilitator. Go ahead, Roger. Thank you for your share, Rocio.
Yes, Rocio, yeah, was one of the volunteers, one of the facilitators of my dialogue group, and was always one of my favorites. So thank you. But as for the impact of camp, I had alluded to some of this in when I was introducing myself, but in some of it was just like really validating and empowering, in the sense that there were other people who were still doing activist work, beyond just the people who had gone like so far with it that they had become famous. Like there was work to be done and there were ways to do it, because I had felt really powerless and kind of lost in that. So that was really wonderful to find connection, find community, and then going with that, Chuck and like Rocio were saying, with the community guidelines and with all the work, especially as I went on to become a volunteer and to go through trainings and other youth programs that CCEJ offers, I just learned a lot about how to communicate with people, how to show up in spaces, how to show up in community, which was really tough for me because I mean, I'm about as cerebral as they get as a person. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how I am as a person. Very, very cerebral. And so for me, it was always like I could learn all the theory and I could learn all the terminology. And I was like, I'm so good at this. And they were like, and then I felt like I needed someone to come up to me and be like, you know, there's the word social and social justice, right? Like, because I was terrible socially my whole life. And it was just a real struggle for me. And CCJ uh, gave me the opportunity to learn how to do this and learn how to not only do the work, but even just like be a person who cared and could form strong connections with others, uh, and have compassion and have, like Rocio was saying, difficult conversations, but even just like normal conversations. These were not my strong suits. And it was it and also like Rocio said, I'm gonna steal everything here. Uh, being able to do this, you know, I mean, I started as a freshman in high school, so very much as I was going through a lot of my, call it probably second bout of coming of age, however many I'm going to end up doing, was really helpful. And I did end up having to take a break after my year as a volunteer, but even in my space further away, I was still finding myself coming back. And even now, I constantly find myself thinking back to the community guidelines and the work that I did and the training that I did and everything that it prompted in me. And I'm still growing from that and just becoming a stronger person as both an activist and just a human being. It's been really, really useful and really helpful. I've also made some of my closest friends.
Beautiful. Thank you, Roger. And last but not least, I know, you haven't gotten to go up to the mountains yet, but hopefully the impact is there. So yeah, curious to know what connections and impact you had.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, but like going in like completely virtually and not being able to see people like fully face to face, it was worrying, but like I said, it's really astonishing just how quickly people are able to like build connections in spaces where like everyone's willing to learn. And for myself personally, I think the fact that that CCEG offers these programs to like youth is super important, because like we're all still growing up, we're learning, we're growing up in a difficult world, and just the fact that we're able to like foster those like positive thinking and desire to change the world for the better at such young ages, it's really something that I think is amazing. um, all in all, I think in my own community, I've definitely seen myself like using the communication guidelines that everyone's been talking about, thinking about like taking other people's emotions and feelings into account, um, connecting my own experiences to others. Like we all come from different backgrounds, but there are places where we can share like the same experiences. Um, and yeah, CCEJ has just been such a great experience. Like in terms of impacts, like I can definitely see like CCEJ like in the future, like already for myself now, I feel like I've grown a lot as a person too. I haven't been the best at verbal communication, but thanks to like CCJ's emphasis on speaking your own thoughts, listening to others, and just implementing all these different skills has really helped me in dialogues about like social justice and all of this stuff too. So Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you all. And of course, we're like right at time. So I do want to, if you will take this challenge, the last thing you want to say is, so we'll go back around to each of the panelists. So try and stick to one sentence. I know it's hard, but what's the last thing maybe you want to share with this lovely group of alums here tonight? Yeah, just anything you want to share as your last kind of statement. And also we'll have like breakout rooms in a moment. So if you want to check in with folks, we'll do that as well. But yeah, Chuck, what's the last thing you want to say to this lovely group?
If you don't like the culture, change it.
Oh my gosh, he did it. One sentence. I'm so impressed. Thank you, Chuck. Rocio.
Don't only move through life with an open mind, but with an open heart.
Thank you, Rocio. That's powerful. Roger.
Come back to me in a second. I'm sorry. Go first.
The only thing I can say is just thank you all so much for making the change and putting in the work to like make a better future for everyone else.
Thank you, Roger.
I think that the most important thing is always, finding community and having the strongest and most positive connections you can with others while still looking out for yourself.
Beautiful. Thanks, Roger. So folks can give it up. I see some love in the chat already coming through, but yes, please give it up for Roger, Rocio, and Chuck. Just so much gratitude to all of you for sharing your time, sharing your stories. I know I had way more questions and we only got to a couple of them, which is typical, right, of these spaces. And I think it's okay. Just what you brought up was, yeah, I feel very cup filled right now. So just lots of gratitude to you all.